Hello and welcome back. My name is Miss Johnson and I'm here to make more videos for you as we're all away from school. I hope that you've been able to keep yourself occupied and entertained during these long days. I know I have. I practiced crocheting with this little bear. It took a while, but I think it came out good. Now, in the previous video, we went over character traits by reading the book The Doorbell Rang by Hutchins. Today we'll be continuing that conversation. I thought we could talk more about the difference between physical and personal traits in a character. As we discuss character traits, I thought it'd be useful to create a web organizer to help us see how physical and personal traits connect. Physical traits are what we see on the outside. Let's start with smile. When we see someone with a smile, you might guess their personal traits. Take some time to think of a trait that when you think of for somebody with a smile. Now, when I see someone with a smile, I might guess that they are happy, nice, or even kind. Now, we can do the same thing with somebody with a frown. What traits might you think somebody with a frown might have? I think that a person might be sad, upset, or just feeling down. They might even be a little worried. Now, this might be kind of hard to describe, but when somebody has a frown and a scrunched up eyebrows, what do you think that kind of face represents? I think that it might represent somebody who might be a little angry, somebody who might be a little mad maybe, or maybe somebody who might just be mean to others. Now, there are many more things that we can do with different traits. The list could go on and on. We can go back and see that using physical traits gives us an insight into what a person may be feeling or how they are acting. Now, we're going to reread The Doorbell Rang to decide some traits about the characters. We might be able to see their physical traits match their personal traits. So the doorbell rang. "I've made some cookies for tea," said Ma. "Good," said Veronica and Sam. "We're starving." "Share them between yourselves," said Ma. "I've made plenty." "That's 6 each," said Sam and Victoria. "They look as good as Grandma's," said Victoria. "And they smell as good as Grandma's," said Sam. "No one makes cookies like Grandma," said Ma as the doorbell rang. It was Tom and Hannah from next door. "Come in," said Ma. "You can share the cookies." "That's 3 each," said Sam and Victoria. "They smell as good as your grandma's," said Tom. "And look as good," said Hannah. "No one makes cookies like Grandma," said Ma as the doorbell rang. It was Peter and his little brother. "Come in," said Ma. "You can share the cookies." That's 2 each, said Victoria and Sam. They look as good as your grandma's, said Peter, and smell as good. Nobody makes cookies like Grandma, said Ma at the doorbell rang. It was Joy and Simon and their 4 cousins. Come in, said Ma. You can share the cookies. That's 1 each, said Sam and Victoria. They smell as good as your grandma's, said Joy, and look as good, said Simon. No one makes cookies like Grandma, said Ma as the doorbell rang. And rang. Oh dear, said Ma, as the children stared at the cookies on their plate. Perhaps you better eat them before we open the door. We'll wait, said Sam. It was Grandma with an enormous tray of cookies. My, now that's a big word. Enormous. Do you think you know what that means? Enormous is something that is very large in size or amount. Just like Grandma's tray of cookies. How nice to have so many friends to share them with, said Grandma. It's a good thing I made a lot. No one makes cookies like Grandma, said Ma as the doorbell rang. So now I'm going to open this book back up and walk you through some of the physical traits that we might see. And as we do so, I'm going to mark them on our chart here to see if we notice any similarities. So let's look at this first page. What do you notice about their faces? I noticed both of them have smiles on their faces. So I'm going to mark smile. And a lot of these, they have smiles on their faces. But we notice as more kids come, some of them start to look a little different. Hers does not really look like a smile anymore. Do you think it matches any of these? I would say it's closer to a frown. She's starting to look a little worried about the cookies. Let's go on. Now definitely on these last 2 pages here, this one and this one, what do we notice about their faces? They definitely aren't smiling anymore. They all have frowns on their faces. So now let's think about why they might have this. So I noticed that these smiles could represent that they might be happy about having cookies and that they are nice and kind for sharing. Now if we go to the word worried, it goes along with frown, and that makes sense. Those kids were worried that they were not going to have any cookies left. You might also think they might be a little sad that they don't get as many cookies, but then right away they smiled and were happy again when the grandma brought more. So using the text and illustrations, we were able to describe the characters' traits and what they were feeling. We were able to chart traits based off personal and physical. We were able to use the chart to see that the characters in the book are kind and will share with their friends even though they get less cookies. Now, as an activity that you can try at home, one way we can better understand character traits is by acting it out. There's 2 ways that you can do this. You can grab some items from your kitchen, like a plate or baking tray, and something that is round. And then you can go around and you can act like you're sharing cookies. That way you can decide what type of traits you might have. You can have a chance to act angry about sharing them or happy. Now, if you want to do more of a craft activity, you can create a puppet and do a puppet show of the characters as they share all the cookies. I am excited that we get to do this learning with each other. Stay tuned for more videos to come.